Film, gaming, pop culture. Welcome to episode 33 of Everything is Permitted here at Wade's Comic Madness. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-hosts, Matt Reppert and Brittany Tomes. How we doing?
Awesome.
Good. Still processing.
Yeah,
so much processing. So much processing. If you're wondering why we're processing, we just got back from seeing Joker, which we are going to be reviewing on this episode here. That is 33. So much processing.
I'm currently running Windows 98 because I'm processing.
Oh, God.
Wouldn't that be like Windows ME?
You got mail, which is something
You've
that
got
his
mail.
mother did not receive ever in the movie.
Not one fucking letter
No.
from Mr. Thomas Wayne.
Screw you, Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, what an ass.
Pick up a pen.
We'll talk about that.
We're going to talk about that. We have a great show planned for you today. We are going to be doing our Joker review. That'll be our main segment. Also in our show today, we are going to be joined by a special guest, Billy Peitz. He is going to be talking Destiny Shadowkeep with Matt and I. Billy is one of my clanmates on Destiny 2, so we are going to be talking everything Shadowkeep as well. Before we get down to it, we have a couple of updates, and as well, we always have our rants and raves. First update, crowdfunding.
We're fully funded.
We are fully funded. Thanks, Tony Stark. In typical Tony Stark fashion, we had a donor named Tony Stark donate to our cause, but we are fully funded. So
There was also Bruce Wayne.
And Bruce Wayne donated as well. Thank you for making this happen. We are so excited. We're going to get this new equipment that is going to make our show, one, sound even better, two, give us the ability to have multiple guests on the show. I'm so excited. Already talking about ordering the Rode Rodecaster Pro. I'm so excited to get that, get our 4 mics. It's actually a bit of a bummer. The Rode pod mics that we're going to be getting are so popular, they're back ordered. So I'm going to have to finagle a way to try and
I think we can find them somewhere.
find them somewhere. Well, you know.
The Black Podcast Market.
The Black Podcast Market.
I'm sure there's a truck in the Walmart parking lot we can just go up to and be like, do you have any mics?
We'll be behind Wade's with our blue mics and be like, anybody want some?
You want to buy some
$50.
death mics?
Want to buy some death sticks? You're going to go home and rethink your life. I'm going to go home and rethink my life.
And listen to podcasts, rethinking his life.
Obviously.
So yes, thank you again. We are going to be talking to you about fulfilling your perks. If you purchase any, we'll be getting to you very soon. We want to focus on making sure we get our equipment, and then we will be fulfilling those. So thank you one last time.
Yeah, we're going to percolator.
Mother of God.
Because it's time for the percolator.
Oh, God.
I don't know whether to give that the womp 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 or the Mother of God soundbite. I'll have to figure it out later.
God, no!
One of those is going to happen.
Oh, dear God.
Let's get to rants and raves. I'm not going to look at Brittany first because Brittany's never ready.
Actually,
I'm
do
not
have
ready
one,
today.
though.
I am
You
not
do
ready.
have
I do
one.
have one, and it's a rant, and it's like an annoyed rant.
Let's do it.
So, this isn't anything nerdy. It's about going to the gym. I like going to the gym. I like enjoying my workout. Doing what I'm going to do. Just recently got back in the flow of doing it. However, if you're an old white man at the gym, can you not stare at women who are doing their squats the entirety of their repetitions?
Jesus.
This dude ruined my workout. Because, no matter what exercise I was doing, because it was leg day. I love leg day. Leg day could be every day.
You talk about leg day quite a bit.
Yeah, I like my legs. They're very strong. Carry the weight of my sins. Anyway, this guy was doing some other, I guess, the arm exercises in that area, but I was, using the free weights for my squats and different things. And he was, sitting there, and in between doing his reps, just because he was sitting the same direction, he would just, I get that it's natural for humans to look at movement in their area, but, occasionally glancing at somebody and being like, oh, that person's doing this exercise, cool. I never stare at people in the gym. I don't look at somebody and be like, what's this one person over there doing the whole time? That's really creepy. So this dude kept looking at me. And I was doing deadlifts, and every time I would lift up, I would just glare at him. I was just like, why are you looking at me? What? Why? And it happened through 3 of my exercises. Eventually when I left that area, didn't have to deal with him. But still, I was just you took away from me working out. Then again, I think I did get a deeper workout because I was angry the whole time. So I was purposely doing more weight than usual.
Screw
and,
this guy.
ready to kill him.
Bros, man.
But it's just annoying because it's
He's an old
first
bro,
of
though.
all,
That was an old bro.
that's rude, and women have to deal with that all the time. We're tired of being looked at. It just sucks. And then, I'm gay, and you're barking up the wrong tree to begin with, and you're old enough to be my grandpa. Get out of here. I don't care what you bench press.
I have this
I'll bench
whole
press
scene
you
in my
through a
head right
window.
now.
We
and I'm
need to
just-
get Brittany a workout shirt that just says, I'm gay, stop it.
Yeah.
Or something really clever.
Like, if you're staring at me, you shouldn't. This is a fucking gym.
That's
So
also
anyway.
clever. I like it.
Anyway, that's my rant. I was just real annoyed at...
But if
Creepy
you're
old
looking
men.
for a really good leg day workout, Brittany's your girl.
Yeah.
Talks about leg day like all
Drop
the
it
time.
like a squat.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
God.
My legs are strong so I can outrun the haters.
I'm gonna give you a couple extra minutes because I have actually I'm doing what I did last week. I have a rant rave. I'm gonna do my rave first. Big congratulations. I gave a big round of applause last week to the cast of Hamilton. This week I am giving a big round of applause to Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks for putting on an amazing first ever televised All Elite Wrestling Dynamite on TNT in Washington, D.C. You showed, and I was there live, and it was an awesome show. You showed that there can be competition to WWE, but it also showed that, like, it's wrestling. If you like wrestling, you don't have to hate or like one or the other. You can just watch wrestling and enjoy it. And I liked that even though it was still wrestling, it still had you were at a wrestling show, but it focused on the wrestling. Like, I want to just give a big round of applause because there were shocks, there were great matches, a historic match for the first ever AEW Women's Championship between a trans woman and a little tiny Japanese girl. It was like David versus Goliath. It was probably the best match on the night. It was such a good show. So congratulations, AEW Dynamite. Awesome. My rant, dear parents, don't bring your fucking kids to go see the Joker. Like,
yeah, that was...
I'm mind boggled right now. I almost went up to these people when we were leaving the theater earlier. Right behind us, those kids had to be like, what, 7 or 8?
I don't know. I didn't
I
even
don't
notice that there were kids behind
Oh
us.
my
Can't
God.
engage their age.
They have made a point of saying, don't bring your kids to this movie. It is not a comic book movie. It is, I
It's
hate to use my
psychological.
air quotes, AMC artisan film. You're not going to see the Avengers. You're going to see a, like, psychological deep cut
Like-
character.
Like graphic novel, dark Joker, where it's all psychological. And you thought, I'm going to bring my kid to see this.
I was shocked. And I'm sure the parents afterwards, I'm hoping, were like, maybe that wasn't the best idea. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just don't give a shit. Matt, you were saying in the car right here that, well, can we judge them too hard because our parents took us to movies that we
yeah,
probably
I
shouldn't
said
have
the
seen?
same thing.
But at the same time, I'm like, they said specifically, maybe don't bring, like, okay, maybe an unpopular opinion. I saw Deadpool with just Karen and I in one theater, and there was like a little kid behind us, and I was like, yeah, it's Deadpool though. Like, it's funny. Is the kid going to be like scarred by Deadpool?
Oh, kids love Deadpool.
Are they going to be scarred by Deadpool? No. Are they going to maybe be scarred by this movie? If I was a kid, I would have nightmares after this.
I don't know, man.
They're
Like,
gonna
my parents let
understand
me watch, like, I know I've said this before, like Aliens when I was like really young, like when it was on like HBO back in the late
Those are
80s.
like shoot 'em up movies. This one's definitely like psychological. Like you're in his head. You're watching a man's descent into choosing this violent path.
I understand that. I mean, but so I understand that some parents, like, sometimes getting a child care is just like, whatever, let's just take little Johnny to see this movie. He's probably not going to remember. My parents
Johnny's
took,
gonna come home and use his mom's makeup to like smear on his
like
face.
my parents took me to see The Hunt for Red October when
Or
that
the
came
kid's
out.
gonna fall
a
on the
Tom
ground.
Clancy movie. Like, did I understand a single thing that happened? No.
Or the kids are going to fall on the ground and like cut themselves. They're like, ooh, let me put like blood around my face and make a Joker face. Like,
Don't call me out like that.
I'm not gonna lie. If I
it,
like got a
Brittany.
phone call, like my kid, like, yeah, he fell and he like started smearing blood on his face and like a smile, like, he's my kid. I appreciate that.
Yeah. His middle name is Joaquin.
dude, Joaquin Phoenix in this movie, my God.
He
We'll
was
get to
Joaquin on Sunshine, that's for sure.
Walking on sunshine. Wow, it does feel good.
Come on, that dancing part.
that. Matt, do you have a rant or rave?
I don't know if I'm gonna call it a rant or a rave. I already shared the photos, but I finally completed my Marvel Steelbook collection. All 23, I think, is it now, movies that they've released?
24.
24, whatever. I know I did the research, and they technically count the Incredible Hulk, I think.
They
with,
do, yeah.
You know what's
That's why
funnier
it's
than 24?
What's that?
25.
Oh, God. But I can't tell you the time I had to like get some of these damn movies, because for a while I didn't collect steelbooks or anything like that. But I finally have the complete collection. I'll probably bring them in tomorrow so we can get a photo of them, just so everybody can see my shame.
Can we call you the Man of Steel?
That's right.
Ooh, yeah, the Man of Steel, Matt Repper.
be
They're,
his
they're
own
more like
segment.
aluminum. That's the thing that always bugs me. Like, they're not even steel.
That
they're
might be
aluminum.
how I
Introduce me.
introduce you for the rest of the times we record this show. I will say Best Buy really got me that day, man, because I had to get Guardians and I had to get Doctor Strange as well. And then they had Frozen in Steelbook too.
Yeah,
I
Frozen.
Like,
I got Frozen, even though
had
I
to
was
get
like,
Frozen.
but then the thing that they snagged me was that Zombieland came out that same
and The
day.
Shining,
I was like,
and I really want to get The Shining Steelbook.
I'm gonna get Shining and Gremlins sometime a little bit down the road. I think.
I love Gremlins.
Oh yeah, Gremlins is a fantastic.
Mackerel.
Movie. I want them to release the second one though. I haven't watched the second one in forever, but it's so amazingly dumb awesome.
Dumb awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's also what they say about me. Just kidding, they don't. It's just the awesome part.
Speaking of dumb awesome, I think it's time to get to
The Permitted Minute.
The Permitted Minute.
the permitted minute, and we're gonna go in 4, 3, 2, 1.
What did it cost?
Everything. Thanos' memorable line is fitting if you plan to shell out the money for the 24-film Infinity Saga box set, which comes in at a whopping $549. Also, Martin Scorsese is making headlines this week, not for his Irishman film, but for knocking the craftsmanship of the superhero film genre. James Gunn has responded saying he admires the prestigious director, but is saddened by his comments.
Miss Marvel has been announced as one of the playable characters in the upcoming Avengers game from Square Enix.
In comic news, the current line of Star Wars comics will come to an end, setting up a new series with new writers, taking place after the events of Empire Strikes Back.
Joker is looking like it will break the October weekend box office record. That'll put a smile on Warner Brothers' face.
The upcoming Creepshow reboot has added some familiar faces from the horror and sci-fi genres in Tricia Helfer, David Arquette, and Simpsons writer David Gould.
All right, we did that with about 9 seconds
Damn.
left. Well done, guys. Well
I
done.
thought it was Marvel's Avengers, so that's why I stuttered. I was like, Avengers.
It's okay. It happens. It's per minute. We're trying to get it done fast.
Yeah,
Quick.
man.
Done. All right, we have a packed show. So sometimes in the show we do like a quick little sidebar segment here. We have a lot to dissect, so we're going to get right to it. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Brittany's going to step aside, and we are going to welcome my friend and clanmate Billy Peitz to run down Shadowkeep with Matt and I. That's coming up next. Stick around. All right, welcome back to the show, and it is time to start talking about the latest expansion from Bungie and Destiny in Shadowkeep, and we are joined by a very special guest, my clanmate, my friend, Billy Peitz is here. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. I know this is we're doing this separately, so I really appreciate you taking that time and letting me hop on.
Oh, no problem. It's our pleasure. We're excited anytime we get to talk Destiny.
Yeah,
We really need to stop one of these days, because oh my god! Actually, I'm your pusher. I got you back.
You
in.
did. You really did get me back.
Like
into-
you'd gone through rehab and everything. You'd finally broken away, and I just knocked on your door like, dude, I got some quality stuff right here.
And like an addict, I'm just like itching to play more and more and more and more. Shadowkeep came out this past Tuesday, not without its issues.
no.
Servers,
Not a good first impression.
not a first good impression. Servers almost immediately crashed. Guys, and Billy, you're our guest. I'll start with you here.
Sure.
Also, I should mention too, Billy is in our clan, Grasp My Malox.
Yeah,
And
which I have no idea what Malox is or anything
I think
like
it's
that.
Greek.
Sure, why not?
I'm half Greek, I should know, but yeah, you got to play for like an hour, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, servers go down.
Yeah, surprisingly though, what it seemed like the Bungie community was very forgiving of Bungie, and I mean it was certainly a disappointment considering they put the game down for 24 hours and assuming that, all right, not that it would be a flawless run for sure, but it definitely was a disappointment. And I think I had heard, I didn't see this for sure, but I had heard that they had like 15 million concurrent like players all at once.
Yeah,
So
wow.
like I don't think they were I think they were obviously expecting an influx of new players for sure, but I don't think they were expecting so many players at once.
Well, and then you had the numbers from Steam as well.
Yeah,
and it was something like 200,000.
And you also had
rising.
that they made it like free for everything up to Shadowkeep. So
And I think the running thing that I think everybody thought they should have done is separate New Light by like a week and then release Shadowkeep.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. The game was down for a few hours, which gave me the opportunity to open up this bad boy. I'm one of those people that buys collector's editions. Tisk, shame on me. But
I
gotta
can't
say-
judge.
I know
I
you-
considered it.
yeah.
I just
This is one of the coolest collector's editions I've ever purchased. It comes in a nice collectible box first, which my original Destiny one didn't. I think that was just I could throw it away.
Yeah.
This comes with a nice box, and you open it up, and you get like, I guess what you would think someone left, like, from the moon expeditions, and this is like a box they kept stuff in. It's a nice quality metal box. It comes with what you would get if you were on a lunar expedition during the Golden Age. It's got codes, procedures handbook. It's pretty sweet. And then a journal. Like, you could actually write in this journal, and it's also got some creepy Eris Morn shit in there.
Of course it does.
Like her notes. It comes with, if you guys are familiar, you've seen all the, you could hear it jingle. The lunar guns, this necklace is wrapped around them. And again, it's like, the string might not be good quality, but like
Yeah.
everything else is
Yeah, it looks pretty decent.
really nice. You get a creepy letter from Eris. Everything about Eris is creepy in the first place. And then a nice patch with the lunar logo as well. And then the star of the show, if you could hear it, a really nice and heavy cryptoglyph, right?
Cryptoglyph, I think is how you
Which
say
is what you use to unlock your gear and your lunar weapons.
it. If you've played Shadowkeep, it's the thing when you go to Eris Morn, it's to the table to the left
Yeah.
when you're facing her. It's that's the thing that's floating above the little bowl. That's the cryptoglyph.
I think we're split whether this opens or not.
I don't think it does.
I think it does.
I think it does. I'm
convinced.
I say it's the Codex from Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. Overall, really nice collector's edition for the money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
How much was it?
it
Curiosity.
was like 150,
Something like that.
and
yeah.
it's like, but like the quality is not cheap. Like this could have been a cardboard box.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like it's metal and it's not bending. This is like heavy.
Yeah, the cryptoglyph is probably the nicest thing in this whole.
Could have been a Fallout 76 debacle. but
Oh jeez. Oh man.
My
They're sending
nylon
those
bag.
back, right? Because like you can get mold in them.
The helmets, yes.
It's the helmets, but it's Bethesda corrected it. It's not the helmets from their collector's edition. It's GameStop's version of the collector's edition or something like that. So it's you have to return
GameStop.
them to GameStop to get your refund for that.
So that's what I did during the many hours that Destiny 2 servers wrote down. When we finally got them, we got to play this awesome game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the story. That's obviously the first thing that you do. I guess how does this story stack up to the previous expansion stories? Obviously, at the very beginning, you get that huge reveal, which I don't think any of us were expecting.
I was.
You were?
Really?
Because
Oh.
I actually had read there was like a leaked story thing. It's one of those things that like came out a couple weeks before the expansion where you're never sure what's real, what's not. But somebody had basically posted. Now I don't remember the exact everything that was said in it, but it said that there is a pyramid buried in the moon, and it's basically doing stuff. And it's bringing
okay.
like your old adversaries back to life. And as soon as I turned and saw it, I'm like, it was right. Like it pretty much was right, dead on. Like almost everything it wrote about.
Billy, did you do the story solo?
Yes.
At all? Yeah, so probably even a little bit like creepier and bigger reveal for you.
Oh no, totally. I mean, especially I got on a little later than most of the other guys in the clan, so I wasn't going to be like, hey, who wants to join with me
Right.
when they've already done it. So I ran the story solo, and obviously, leading up to Shadowkeep and everything, we knew something was going on the moon with the darkness and whatnot. That wasn't really a spoiler anyway, but you get to that part where like you get to this like chasm and you see all the dead ghost like bodies floating in the air with the
That
earth.
was such a cool
With the earth in
shot.
distance, and you're like, oh, that's an awesome really shot. And then you go down the cave a little bit more, and then all of a sudden you turn around the corner, and it was this massive pyramid. And I was like, holy wow, that was crazy. It kind of reminded me, this is a silly reference, but it kind of reminded me of Alien vs. Predator.
Oh,
When they discover the pyramid
Yeah,
underneath the Antarctic. I was like, that's just kind of, I know it's like a dumb movie, but that's just I don't know.
No,
it just reminded me of
that's
that.
pretty much like
Yeah.
I mean, I said it in the chat after I completed the story mode, but talking to like the dark, that's what it is. It's the darkness.
darkness,
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the darkness. It's the main adversary of the entire Destiny universe. The opposite of the Traveler.
light.
So, but like when it's talking to you, I like the best thing I can think of is it's like talking to an eldritch god, and that's and if you if you don't know what that is, it's like Cthulhu or something that just is so far outside your plane of existence you can't even comprehend like what it really wants, what it wants to do. And I mean the line which obviously everybody knows is when it's like, we are not your friend, we are not your enemy, we're your salvation.
Don't you recognize us? We are not your friend. We are not your enemy. We are your salvation.
I'm going to make another weird reference to go along with Billy. It reminded me of the Ori from Stargate. Like, they deal with the Goa'uld like a bunch, and then all of a sudden, this other race comes saying, "Oh, we're not your enemy. We may not be your friend, but we are going to offer you salvation." But really, they just want to fucking kill everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty obvious that the darkness just wants to end everything. Billy, what do you think overall? Was the campaign too short?
I felt like it was in line with what Destiny has been doing with their campaigns all along. It's a lot of brief very little cutscenes, just a few little text dialogue here or there with some fetch quests here or there, kill some things, unlock a reward, get a armor piece, go do this, go do that. So in terms of what I expected from Bungie, I think it was exactly what I expected. And like I said, we knew the darkness was on the moon in some way. So, but to discover this pyramid, I thought was just really cool. I think they had some really nice surprises, and there's quite a bit going on after the campaign as well that I don't think you realize that's gonna come up until like you really do finish it.
Right.
Like the powerful rewards, for example. Like I know things were changing with the way you got power and whatnot, but I was like, where are all my powerful rewards? Like when I first started, like where's Flashpoint? Did they get rid of Flashpoint?
I know.
thought that
I was
really weird.
scared about that as well.
And then it wasn't until I hit power 900 that I was like, all of a sudden, all this stuff opened up, and I don't think that was ever communicated to us, or if it was,
I think they were intentionally being a little hush hush about like what was going to stay powerful and like what was not. Matt, how about you? Overall thoughts on the campaign?
The campaign I actually think it was definitely shorter than Forsaken because
It was shorter than Forsaken, and I think it was also shorter than Rise of Iron, which they said was about the size of this expansion.
It's been a while since I played Rise of Iron. They might have been very similar because, but I was satisfied with the single player campaign. It kind of established the fact that that now the Guardians know that this is coming, and I mean, even Zaval even says like, all right, if they want to fight, we'll give it to them. It's like, you guys aren't going to be able to fight them. You're not going to be able to do much to them. And that's one of the things I know it's been rumored that they're talking about maybe for Destiny 3 is the idea of the Guardians using darkness as like supers and stuff like that, which would be totally baller. That would be really cool. I would really like to
Fight
see
fire with fire, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, and there were some things that I was a little disappointed with, as I told you, like I would love to have explored inside the pyramid more. I'm hoping that unlocks as like time goes on in the season.
I feel like there's absolutely no way that won't happen. They can't just give you this beautiful.
I mean, there were like because I actually discovered because I've already done the single player campaign twice with 2 of my characters, and I have to start working on my 3rd tonight. But when you are actually in the pyramid, you can actually go the wrong path, and you can actually end up on this catwalk over the stuff. So that tells me that it's designed for a little bit of exploring.
Yeah.
So as I said, I'm hoping they unlock that as time goes on, because as I said, like the pyramid was like the weirdest, like coolest looking thing of the whole expansion.
Yeah. For me, I also thought it was just maybe a little bit on the shorter side. Again, it didn't disappoint me because of all of the content that unlocks after that, and especially now that we've gotten to the Vex offensive, which we'll get into in a minute. Billy, you mentioned a lot like opening up after you complete the campaign, along with powerful gear drops as well.
Yeah.
One of those things being the heroic versions of the Nightmare Hunts you do during the campaign. Are we excited to see what they can do with these as like they do more, like because they're going to be unlocking the challenges and heroic Nightmare Hunts?
Yeah, I ran through those last night, and they seem like very much like very easy strikes. Like they're, or actually I should say they're more like lost sectors, if anything.
Yeah.
Because like you're dropped like halfway through essentially what mission you played already in the campaign, and then you go through like 1 or 2 rooms, and then you fight that last nightmare, and then it's done. So it's actually really quick, but I'm not really sure how I feel about them. I feel like it's just replicating gameplay. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
it doesn't. I didn't get a whole lot out of it, except for if I ran it 3 times, I got a powerful drop, which is what I need right now. So, but once I hit that 960 power cap, I don't know how often I'm going to do them unless
it's like Triumph related.
Exactly,
exotic
Triumph,
or something.
exotics, yeah, some sort of rewards that are coming out of it. So I'm unsure what to think right now.
I like right now. My feeling is they wanted to recycle some of the villains from the first Destiny, some of the classic Omnigul, Crota, all that. But and
Mechanics.
Fogoth. I mean, it's like they wanted to recycle some. And honestly, at first I was kind of like this, like they just basically reskinned some of the things from the moon from the first game. At first I was like, come on guys, be a little more original. But then I was like, you know what? I'm actually cool with this because I felt familiarity with some of the locations. It was kind
That's
of
what
cool.
makes me really happy.
It was kind of cool to I'm going down into the Hellmouth and everything, and the World Eater I think is one of the areas. But I was like, I knew my way around still because it was still in the back of my mind from Destiny 1. And I was like, all right, this is actually kind of cool.
Well, and that's something that a lot of people talked about from early stages D2, like people wanting D1 material and in D2, and then once they get it, they complain that it's like not original. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. Like, I'm stoked that we're back on the moon. I like the little subtle changes.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Speaking of the moon, there's a whole set of new gear, a whole set of new weapons, and then the exotic quest, obviously, Deathbringer, and then you get, if you're a season pass member, Ariana's Vow. Right away. Matt, I'll start with you first. What do we think about the new armor set, the new weapons, exotics so far?
So, I mean, right now, until I kind of get close to the level cap, my guy is just the hodgepodge of all the shit that gets me as high as I can possibly get. Like, I'm not doing it for the sets about I like how this buffs this and this, but I'm not doing that yet. I probably have another week or 2 until I get close to the cap where I'll be like, all right, now I want to start settling into my groove, and this is the stuff I'm going to wear. Ariana's Vow, or however you say her name, the first time I used that hand cannon, it literally was just annihilating everything.
It's really good.
One shot, boom, and things are just dying, and I was like, oh shit. And then also added bonus, the whole season pass thing, I noticed level 100 is this baller looking thing for it where it's on fire.
Yeah,
and I'm just I'm getting that skin.
Emblem,
the ornament.
Thank
ornament.
you.
I'm getting that ornament because it looked, and that's something that I will give this expansion credit. Almost all of the gun ornaments I've seen look great.
Beautiful,
and I want them all. And I'm just
I bought the Deathbringer one already.
I already bought that as well. I bought the Deathbringer, but as I said, almost all of them, I was I want that one, I want that one. I'm like, oh my god, I want them all. I can't pick and choose them.
Billy, what do you think?
Well, I haven't gotten Deathbringer yet. I'm working on that quest right now. With Ariana's Vow, with you buy Shadowkeep, you get that first season pass. So you get Ariana's Vow right away.
Yep.
The problem I found with that was it's cool, I get an exotic right away, but my very next blue drop was better than Ariana's in terms of power level, and that's what I wanted to do. So I haven't used it. It's sitting there in my inventory, and eventually I just deleted it and then took it out of my collections again at a higher power. So I'm looking forward to using that. There were 2 quests that we got as well. The ones that you get Risk Runner and the Catalyst, or if you had the Catalyst already, you just get a free Risk Runner. It was like that going back to the Cosmodrome.
Which was such a cool mission.
It was a cool mission because, I'm not really a veteran of D1, but I've played a little bit, so I'm somewhat familiar with the Cosmodrome. But then going into that separate kind of platforming section was pretty cool. And then I know what that mission was for. It's for new players. But if you didn't have a Risk Runner, then you get a Risk Runner. And if you didn't have the Catalyst, you get a free Catalyst out of it. And then also I really liked that one mission, I forget what it was called, but where you go back to the Cosmodrome and then you kill all those captains, and then you can get the original AR, the original Ghost, and the original ship. And actually right now I'm using the original ship because it's pretty cool looking.
It's so baller that it's there. Obviously it's there for new players, but it's also there because nostalgia.
I've seen people using it when I've flown into strikes and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, there's the original ship.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think the aesthetic, speaking of the necklace that came with the game, any of the moon weapons have it wrapped around them. I think they're some of the coolest design guns I've seen.
They are pretty neat
in the game. My 2 favorites, I have them up on my Destiny 2 app here, is the hand cannon, Loud Lullaby. And then what's been kicking my ass when I've been playing Crucible is arc logic. People obviously
the
I don't think
auto
I got Arcologic.
I don't think it's gonna end up being a powerful Crucible weapon, but right now it's what people are using, and it was tearing me apart. So
I like the sniper. The sniper rifle's pretty good.
Yeah. Those two have been tearing me apart. And then obviously Deathbringer, it takes a little bit of getting used to because it's not your
It doesn't go boom when it hits
it's not your
something.
standard.
It
You
just
have to hold R2 or right bumper for
you
you.
can no, it's you can hold right trigger, but the thing is if it hits, then it just
then it explodes.
just
But
scatters
if you
into
do
those
a time detonation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it. I was using it a bunch in the Vex offensive.
I used it on somebody in the Crucible who was probably like, "What the hell?"
I actually didn't put it on here yet, and I'll do that before we get to Armor 2.0 because I didn't know if we were going to get to it in time, if it was going to drop in time. But that is the Vex offensive. It unlocked as soon as the world's first raid was done. It's really cool.
It is cool. Yeah. I was telling Julian before we started that I think I actually like it better than Menagerie. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit more streamlined. It's not going into these different types of rooms. It's a very open space, and it's just a lot of just firefighting. It's just a lot of fun.
I like it as well. My only issue is that it's almost too easy. Right now
I would agree with that.
Like I have yet to fail it. I've done it twice, and granted only 2 times, but like we just blew through it. Like the randos and me, like we crushed it.
And I think twice yesterday we were playing, and we got the boss on the second plate.
Yeah.
You know, you super him if you have a bunch of Deathbringers, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like if people know what they're doing, like the dude gets melted like quick.
One of the things I thought was really cool about it is if you're like when you're on the moon fighting the Gate Lords and everything, like if you look up into the like where they're coming down from, you can see the Black Garden up in
nice.
It's really cool. I thought like the aesthetic of it all is just really neat. And those are actually the Gate Lords and the Vex you fight on the moon are more difficult, I think, than what's in the Vex offensive.
Yeah, totally. The Gate Lords are okay. They're just kind of like pretty heavy hitting bosses, but then when those overlords come in, I've only killed one. The other one, if you don't have people around you,
you're screwed.
You're screwed. You can't do it by yourself. Like I don't even think by the time they escape, I don't think you can do a quarter of its health.
Yeah.
So, the whole aesthetic of just the lightning and the Vex coming in and looking up and then seeing the Black Garden.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, I like all of the stuff they added at the end of the story at the story mode. Like that, I was actually surprised with how well like it was integrated and how well it worked. I mean, don't get me wrong; it'll get repetitive, but it's Destiny.
No, but I think
that is what it is.
People were concerned, how do the Vex fit onto the moon and with this Hive storyline? But if you finish the campaign, you know it kind of fits perfectly because the Vex were born in the Black Garden and they, darkness and just it works. It works very well. Let's move on from Vex because we talked about the weapons. Let's talk about the biggest change I think to Destiny 2's ecosystem is Armor 2.0. Matt, what do you think? I know like we're not quite there yet.
No, I'm not
quite.
I'm not quite there yet. But I mean, I've kind of dipped my toe in a little bit. I only use the only mods I currently use, just because I don't want to be swapping them on an armor I'm going to get rid of in a day or so anyway, is like I use like the Dream Bane mod, I think it is, to like, to get you that little buff against nightmares and things like that. I'm interested to see where it goes. However, one thing that drives, maybe I'm just an idiot and haven't seen it yet, but is that like, all right, I have 2 sets of the same armor, but one has like this much more to strength and this one is intelligence.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, what does that give me to have more intelligence versus more strength? I can't compare the armors directly. Like, you can't just have a screen and say, all right, because otherwise I'm doing like, all right, this has +2, +4, plus this, plus that. And then I have to go to the next armor and go and try and remember the numbers and see what is better.
I do know that someone on Reddit right now is like making a whole...
Somebody on Reddit is always doing a ton of
exactly,
shit for Destiny.
Well, what are your thoughts, Billy?
Well, I haven't really touched Armor 2.0 just yet. I mean, most of my character up until this point has been using all blues, just trying to get, and I'm not going to waste my materials on doing that. Absolutely. But I have messed around with like some of those, I forget the exact terminology, but like that overshield rounds.
Oh,
that,
like, from the artifact.
Exactly, from the artifact.
Those are really important for everything.
Yeah,
barrier piercing. And
so I've done that, as well as I think I threw on like some extra ammo for my machine gun, just because that's what I'm currently using right now. But it's neat. I think the way that you can customize everything is going to be really interesting to see, but I think it's going to get a little at least for me personally, it's going to get a little overwhelming, just like Matt was saying. Like, you get one piece of armor, the same piece of armor, and the stats are so very different.
Yeah.
And it's trying to compare, like, oh yeah, what is this? What is that? What does this? Is this really going to do much better for me, or is this not going to? So it's really going to be down to numbers crunching. And I don't know if I want so much of that out of my Destiny game.
And I'm with you exactly on that. Like, that's not why I play Destiny. So Armor 2.0 for me is like a little bit intimidating. Like, for me, I know that I'm not going to want to take the time to do that. Like, honestly, I'm probably going to go on YouTube and Reddit and say, like, find, like, best Warlock Armor 2.0
and that's
build.
and
Like,
that's what it boils down
I don't
to.
like number crunching. I don't like... So, honestly, I liked how Armor was how it was. I
You
don't
had some
think
mods that like gave you a little bit
well,
of this
don't
or
get me
that.
wrong. What they've done with mods in Shadowkeep, I think, is a huge improvement.
Yes, totally.
Because once you have them, you have them.
Yeah.
And their cost isn't very high, especially with the Glimmer cap up. I think that Armor 2.0 is just a little bit too much. Like, I wasn't a huge fan.
I'm not a fan. Like, granted, I haven't. Maybe once again, I haven't got there yet. But the whole thing with the materials and now here's, if you want to upgrade your armor or gun, you now have to have these upgrade modules.
Which
and
is
I'm like,
going back to D1 and what people didn't like about D1.
well, but the thing is, and once again, it's like, I know exactly what they're doing. They're putting something new, so that way people who've been playing it for a while, like pretty much everybody at this table, just can't immediately just start leveling their stuff up like quick. So you have to be a little judicious with your stuff, which is what I'm doing. Like, I haven't upgraded a single thing yet.
Yeah.
And I'm just banking those little upgrades and all that. So I wish they hadn't done that, because I mean, give the people who've been playing for 2 years now, or however, it's been 2 years I think since it came out. Like, give us a little bit of reward for being loyal and sticking with your game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, let us be the kind of player, the god player that like some newbies like, oh my god, like when they when I run past them. So
I was gonna originally have us talk about raid first impressions, but none of us have completed it yet. I only messed around with it for a couple hours yesterday and didn't get very far. So I think we'll save the raid for another episode, just because I don't think... But I want to say, I don't have the names directly in front of me, but congratulations, obviously, to the people that did Worlds First. I think it was in 6.5 hours that they got it. So,
and then second place, I think, was like
within
within 2 minutes or something like that right after that.
It was quite the race. So congratulations to those guys. I think what we'll do is we'll just end with thoughts on the two new strikes, which I think are really well done. I really like the Scarlet Keep one.
I like that a lot, and I think I said this to you yesterday. I wish you could explore the Scarlet Keep more. I thought it was such a cool looking location, like all the structures, the towers. I was so looking forward to running around inside it. You have one strike where you run around inside it, and that's it. That's all you do. And I'm just like, okay, great guys. Like, you basically took this cool location and did like one strike with it.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
you thought like you might get a little like Leviathan action in there.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the keep was going to be this massive thing that you were going to explore. Like, maybe you'd be on the outside, you could spawn in, but then you got to run around inside, like you said, like Leviathan. And I would have been cool with that. So
I thought it was. I mean, I haven't done the second strike. I don't know where it is, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
haven't
unlocked
seen
it
that.
yet. I
It's
guess
on Nessus.
Is it
really?
Yeah, I haven't. No, I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Not Nessus. It's on Io.
Oh,
It's that area that people were, before Shadowkeep came out, were able to like glitch into and get into. Apparently, it's really long. I actually haven't done it either. I was trying to get it done so we could talk about it here.
Yeah.
But
oh, interesting. Okay, I'll
but it
check
is on
that out.
Io. You can just fly into it.
Okay,
try it.
cool.
Maybe we'll do it after this episode.
But yeah, in terms of the Scarlet Keep, it was really neat because I feel like it was very familiar if you played Halo, because like it reminded me of the library going up the elevator, if you remember that level from Halo Combat Evolved. But then it was also reminding me of another level, I forget the name of it, where you're outside in the snow with all the vehicles and everything, but like you're kind of navigating your way up this like tower and whatnot. So I think it was kind of interesting. Whether or not they intended that or not, they probably did, because they are Bungie. But it was kind of nostalgic in a lot of ways like that. But it was a cool strike.
Yeah, I thought the coolest thing about that, and I mentioned it just watching a video of, I think, the Nightfall version of it from IGN, was I thought it was cool that the Hive is basically like sending everything after you, so you don't get in here. A lot of strikes, you just like, the enemies are sitting there and you shoot them, but like this one, they're like, I feel like they're rushing you a little bit more. And I thought that was really cool. And like you said about the elevator, where like there's enemies in like the catacombs going, like shooting at you while you're going up the elevator. I thought that was really cool. Guys, let's finish up on our overall final thoughts. Good expansion, simple answer, yes or no?
I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's promising.
it sets up a lot of future stuff for the Destiny universe, and I mean, I'm hoping they do more with the pyramid and like what it represents, what it does. But at the very least, is they're setting up Destiny 3.
Yeah.
That's my impression.
Well, Billy, I appreciate you coming on the show
Thank you very
and
much.
talking Shadowkeep with us. We will keep you updated as the seasons. There's going to be new. What do they call them? New season. I just said new seasons unlocking over the next.
One
few weeks.
one thing I will say before we're done though is that I know, and I actually find this kind of funny because you know how they've talked about like leaving Activision, they had to get rid of their crunch, and it was very tough for them. They are like, oh, we had these crunches and everything. You have it down to the exact hour when your next season starts, like in the season pass menu, guys. Like, get the hell out of here! Like, you're gonna tell me like, oh, we were really being worked
I
hard.
have a feeling those guys at Bungie are perfectionists.
Yeah.
So when we come back, Brittany Tomes is going to rejoin us. We're going to have our Joker review. We all went to the theater to see it together. A lot of deep thoughts on that coming up after the break. Stick around. Welcome back to the show, and Brittany has rejoined us. We're all here. We're back from seeing Joker, and man, Joaquin Phoenix in this movie was just ridiculous.
Simply delightful.
Simply
yes,
delightful.
Artisan films.
golf clap.
We've talked a lot over the past few weeks about the stupid 8-minute standing ovation this movie
That
got
still is ridiculous.
at the Venice Film
Yeah.
Festival. But I will give a big round of applause to Phoenix because he definitely will get an Oscar nod for this film.
To be fair, I think they gave it an 8-minute long, like, clapping standing ovation because, to be fair, have any of those people seen a comic film?
Well,
when
They're
I
like,
think
wait, this is art and comic.
when I
Glorious! Who's ever done this?
when I think 8-minute standing ovation, I think North Korea and Kim Jong Un is like in the room, like, oh,
because
Yeah,
someone
keep
has a
it
gun
going.
to
clap.
the
Whoever
soldier's
stops first
head.
is gonna die.
Don't you mean Orson Welles? Clap at my wife.
I just want to say before we get any further, not like you can't really spoil much because it's more of like a deep character dive than
Yeah,
anything.
but if you haven't seen the movie, we're
But
gonna
yeah,
spoil all
so
the plot points.
if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to not listen to this segment yet. This is going to be a spoiler review, as always. Before we get into our individual reviews of the film, I do want to touch on what we've been talking about for these few weeks now about this controversy about it, possibly being too violent of a film, possibly being a rally cry for the far right and people that want to rise up. So the question is, did it warrant all the controversy?
Definitely not, in my opinion. Like, it really only gets more violent in the third act. And, like, aside from him dealing with, people sucking in the first part. But the film, its main themes, it's, like, inherently anti-rich, anti-the system that is failing a bunch of people. It's a huge reflection of our society now, and even our political system and those in power currently. There's a big sort of connection you can make between Thomas Wayne and our current president, and it's there on purpose.
I said this to your cousin after the movie. I said that I'm really glad that Alec Baldwin turned down the role because I think people would have then associated even more with Trump. And I also don't think that the role of Thomas Wayne needed to be anyone major. Anybody who's ever played him except for Jeffrey Dean Morgan has not been terribly significant. So I'm glad that it wasn't anybody because I think they could have made even more Trump comparisons.
Oh, they could have.
So-
But I like that it stood on its own. Like, it's enough that seeing it at this period of time and, like, at this point in our zeitgeist, it fits. We all know what it's about. We all know why it's about this. But then again, you can watch this film 10, 20 years later, and you're going to be like, you know what? This is always going to reflect the issues in our society.
Yeah, I mean, I've already said that I enjoyed the fact that it was set in the 80s because it had, and honestly, whenever I think Gotham, I think New York City because it's obviously what it's kind of based on, and people forget in like the 70s and for pretty much most of the 80s, New York was this dirty, grungy place that people didn't like graffiti, trash everywhere.
Yeah, super rats.
Yeah, super rats.
Don't forget the super
have to
cats.
get to that.
And the super bats.
But and I enjoyed the setting for it, and as Brittany said, like its message is going to pretty much always be with us. The idea of the wealthy or the powerful don't care about, and the little guy. And even the movie even says at one point when the social worker's talking to him, she goes, "They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about me. They're cutting funding. We're closing next week."
Yep.
And how relevant is that today? I think the parallels, I'll touch on this a little bit. I think the parallels to what's going on today are there, but to say that it's controversial in any way,
It's not.
all modern cinema touches on current political climates. It's just how these things go. Matt, I was kind of silent in the car because I was really taking it all in.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get to our reviews later, but I have to agree with you about Gotham because this is how Gotham should look pre-Batman. Like grungy. New York City looked exactly like this in the 70s, 80s. There were murders, there were gangs, the subways were riddled with graffiti.
Just look at photos from that time period, and it looks exactly like this movie.
But that's been Gotham in movies, in the comics. I think it was one of the most perfect representations of Gotham City in a movie, which is why I think I could finally say I think I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, I would say that's one of my favorite things about the movie is the tone. Like, whether it be the sounds or the looks and the feel of the city, it feels, first of all, believable and real. Mm-hmm. And you can believe that this happened at some point in the past, even though you know it's a fictional film. And it's just, it showed that Gotham doesn't have to be, like, physically dark to be dark and gritty. Yeah. This is what real life dark and gritty looks like. There can be colors in the background. There can be, this orange tinge to things because,
I will say that the cinematography, this is probably one of the most beautifully shot films I've seen
for sure.
in a really long time. Let's get right down to it. And sorry, I didn't even answer the question. And I also don't think it warranted any of the controversy.
No, it certainly
if you want to say that the end of the movie where they're all revolting against, the Gotham PD and the rich and the Waynes basically, and that's like something that's parallel today, sure, you can say that. At the same time, this is also the start of why Batman is necessary because Gotham becomes in a state of unrest, unlivable. People fear for their lives. Gangs take over. Supervillains take over. This is the start of why Batman is necessary. It is the fall of Gotham and what he thinks he needs to do in order to make Gotham what it needs to be again.
Well, no, and I think one thing that this movie kind of did a little bit is that it kind of tied a little bit, just a smidge, into the Nolan movies. Because when I think it's the first one where she says like your parents' murder kind of like shocked everybody and that just negated and that just stopped everything cold, but nothing ever got better for anybody. But everybody was just so shocked by the murder of the Waynes that and that's actually what I thought about when the murder happened was that like that's what's going to stop the rioting and everything is people like holy shit. Like Thomas Wayne and his wife are dead.
Yeah, the difference being in this one is that in the Dark Knight trilogy, the Waynes were very much portrayed as kind of the white knights of Gotham City, whereas in this, like they're not. They're like you said, they're kind of like maybe not Martha Wayne, but Thomas Wayne is very Trump-esque. So, let's get into actual reviews of the film. Brittany, your thoughts overall. What did you think?
I was pleasantly surprised by the film. I remember when I left it the first time when I saw it Thursday night, I felt satisfied. Like I was just like, wow, that was a very satisfying film. It's nice to see like this refreshing take on the Joker. I thought he did it really well, and obviously Joaquin Phoenix was like friends with Heath Ledger, close friends with him, and he did his Joker in a different way for a reason. He didn't want to do anything to take over Heath Ledger's portrayal, and I think that it complements so well. So now you have these two really well done, very different Jokers. And what I took away from it was just like the cinematography, the sound editing, like certain directorial choices I really enjoyed because it was nice to see how they did specific shots. For example, those scenes where you're with the Murray show, like you feel like you're in the audience there, and the way they keep the camera angles where sometimes you zoom in because you're seeing the cameraman literally focus on him, but when it pulls away and he shoots Murray, like they keep it as you're an audience member and you're like, oh crap, and everybody starts scrambling, but you stay there. Like the camera stays there and he walks up, does his little Joker dance, hops down and grabs the camera, and then you also feel like you're the viewer at home. So like there's so many cool choices I like about that movie. Overall, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you touched on about the way that the cinematography was done to make you kind of feel very immersed, like especially some of the subway stuff. When they're going into the tunnel during the crazy scene with the cops chasing him, and it goes into like you think you're on the train for a second.
Yeah, you feel like you're in there with him.
And there's this feeling, like a little bit of a feeling of panic.
Yeah, because you're like they're going to catch us. Like You
Yeah.
feel like you're him.
Yeah.
And I think that also goes with the psychological aspect of this film, where a lot of the movie, like, once again, spoiler alert, guys, is in his head. And there are certain moments where you know for a fact it's in his head, and then there's other ones that are less, obvious. They're more subtle. But some things that are happening aren't actually happening. They're in his head because he's, literally in his own world. So one of the more obvious ones is when he first sees himself on the Murray Show and then pulls back out. But there's subtle cues with music and the laugh tracks happening, like when he's performing at the club, and you're like, could he possibly be doing well or not? But it fades away, and you can't hear what he's saying anymore, nor the reaction, and you hear the laughter. You see the girl smiling, you think he's doing well. But later on, when it shows that again, when it's played on TV by Murray, if you notice, after his jokes, nobody laughs. Mm-hmm. So that's the point. That's how you know immediately, oh, shoot, that was in his head. And then they do that whole flashback to show you, oh, he wasn't really in a relationship with this girl. It's all in his head. Some people are like that. They build up these ideas and these fantasies and this idea of the person.
Yeah, that was something, because I think I even said it after we walked out of the theater, because for a while, that was actually my least favorite part of the movie was, like, this woman, why is she in a relationship with him? He follows her, and she's, like, totally cool with that, and then she makes, like, some snarky joke, like, oh, I thought you were going to rob the place. And if the movie hadn't explained or shown that it was all in his head, their entire relationship, she was never with him, she, like, basically thinks he's that creepy weirdo who lives down the hall. Like, I actually legit would have been like, all right, that hurts this movie a lot in my eyes. But doing that and showing that, like, yeah, this dude is legit messed up. Like, and that's what some people do, is they build an entire relationship inside their head with somebody, and that's where some stalkers come from with celebrities and things like that. And that's what this did.
Yeah, they
they
think
think
that,
the person knows them, loves them, and all that.
Like,
That-
Murray, I feel like you're my friend.
That scene when after he kills his mother and he's sitting in her apartment and she's like, what are you doing here? I sank back in my chair and I said, oh shit.
Yeah, man, you got sixth sensed.
Like, I kind of, I don't
Like,
know
you
if
had a feeling.
Yeah, I didn't know if I fully expected it to be that kind of a reveal. I thought it might just be like he does something bad enough where she doesn't want to be with him, and that might have been fine with me too. But this was such a deep mental fuck, and
And it's also scary because he just learned about what happened when he was a child and to his mom. So then you're also worried. You're like, is he gonna hurt her?
yeah,
And
yeah,
her daughter? Like, what's gonna happen?
yeah. That scene was really like an emotional, just oh my god, like because she acts so differently and so well.
First time I saw it, I yelled, I knew it! My cousin was like, yeah.
Her acting was so well when she was with him that you really thought, okay, maybe she just really sympathizes with him, and then she just goes, it's like a completely different
character,
person.
yeah.
It was such a
Props to every actor in this movie, I just want to say.
No, yeah, everybody.
Even, like, side people.
Yeah. I mean, and Joaquin Phoenix, as was mentioned, does deserve an Oscar nod for, at the very least, a
100%.
nod. Like, it's like
Yeah.
he sold the role. Like, the guy, from what I read, he had, like, starved himself to, like, get that thin.
It's also very easy to see the dichotomy between the two people he's playing. Mm-hmm. Like, when he goes Joker mode and then he has these moments where he flashes back to Arthur, like, especially at the end where he's just laughing and then he's talking again to the psychiatrist, like, as soon as the makeup's off, you're like, whoa, this feels like a completely different dude again.
yeah.
And I mean, and going back to a topic that we talked about in a previous show, like, yes, there are certain things that some creepy whatever dude can take from this movie and be like, oh, society walks past me and blah, blah, blah. But that's, unfortunately, like, a good filmmaker doesn't tell you what to feel. Like, you figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
And as I said, I enjoyed the movie a lot. I really did.
Yeah, go right into it. Like, overall thoughts.
I mean, my overall thoughts were it definitely works as a standalone movie. I know Joaquin Phoenix has said that he's not going to do a second one unless they find something interesting to do with the character, which I was talking with Julian. The only thing I could see is maybe doing somehow he influences the actual Joker, maybe. Like, the idea of, like, is this like a child or something? Like, he influences a kid or something along those lines. I enjoyed the movie more than I thought I would. I really did. Like, the cinematography, the soundtrack, like, I mean, the mood.
So
it was a beautiful movie, but the whole setting was ugly, and that's kind of like a weird thing to say. But, like, I loved, like, the setting. I loved the cinematography. I loved the soundtrack, and as Brittany said, like, pretty much everybody, like, nailed their role. Like, they were pretty almost perfect.
And
in
you
this.
find yourself laughing at scenes that, like, if somebody
You
would have told you
shouldn't,
ahead
yeah.
of time, And once again, it's like, am I uncomfortable laughing because this is like so weird, or am I laughing because this legitimately what I've gone through in this film so far makes this scene hilarious?
Well, even like, and this is all credit to Joaquin Phoenix, but like I remember one scene where I legit was like, oh my god, like this dude, without a word, like he's creeping me out, is when he's at his locker with the other clowns and he's like has a shirt off, and I remember like the way his shoulders and his arms were, he looked like an alien almost. And we all know, like, at some point we've encountered that person in our life that is like that creepy weirdo that you're like, hey man, how are you doing? And you don't really want to talk to them, but you have to work with them, go to school with them or something like that. That person that you kind of want to keep at arm's length, like he was that person. That's exactly what he was. And you know, as I said, like he pulled it off perfectly. I mean, he was sympathetic, but also a monster.
Yeah, and I do like that he doesn't apologize for being a monster either, because the whole point is this is a movie about a villain. So people should also be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And it's like a slow burn. Like I've heard one of my friends describe it as like it's like a candle like being lit and slowly like melting until like the end. I think it's like literally someone lit a stick of dynamite, but it's like a really long wick. You almost forget that there was a spark in the beginning, and there's these little hints. Sometimes it goes a little faster, sometimes it doesn't, but then eventually at the end it's like boom, here he is. Like I like to think the moment where he goes into the fridge and you don't see him come back out is when Arthur goes away for good. And then afterwards, the Joker's there.
One thing I did say to
Or he kills
Julian
his friend.
on our way here is that for a while I wasn't sure if I liked the face makeup, because that's always an iconic part of Joker. But the part of the movie where I was like, he got it, it's him, was when he's walking off the subway and he has the one blue line
and
that
it's
goes down
dripping.
his face.
He's smoking.
Yeah, I was like, you got it. That's it right there.
That was such an iconic scene of him walking out that subway train, because like I had the same exact thought you did. At that moment, that's when I was okay with the makeup, because I was very...
Well, they know what they did.
Yeah.
That's the moment everybody's okay with the makeup. That's like across the board, everyone I've talked to.
Yeah, because he's very just he's the Joker at that point. Like
Yeah, he's fully evolved, and when he sees the cops be dragged off the train and literally beat like he used to be,
Yeah.
and he takes off the mask and does his little dance, his
Yeah.
little
Smoking
Charlie
the
Chaplin
cigarette.
dance, and then walks away. Oh,
So, for me, I went from the initial announcement of this movie and being like, oh, Jesus Christ, we don't need this. It doesn't need to be made. Don't do it. You know, I've always been hesitant for Joker to be done at all after Heath Ledger's passing. I thought, like, let him just have, like, be the standard bearer, and that's it. Like, let's maybe not do the character anymore. And then Jared Leto happened, and I was like, this is
You're
my
like, this is
reasoning
why.
for not doing it
should have
again.
given a good decade.
Yeah, so I'm just like, and then I see previews, and then you keep hearing about the movie in the news and these unwarranted claims of like what we've been talking about. And I left the movie feeling extremely uncomfortable. And I think that's what makes this film brilliant. That's how you should feel.
That's how you
leaving
should
this
feel about
movie.
the Joker,
No,
period.
yeah, Todd Phillips isn't going to tell you to leave the movie that way. We were talking about it in the car.
Yeah.
You interpret it for yourself. I think you should leave this movie feeling uncomfortable. And I did.
I left the movie prepared to buy a clown mask and ready to riot. Burn down the establishment.
Like I mentioned earlier, they set up Gotham right away to be the Gotham it needed to be for this movie. It was perfect from the lighting, from the cinematography, to Joaquin Phoenix's performance as both Arthur and his transformation, metamorphosis into Joker. It was just this beautiful slow roll into it. One of my favorite scenes happens to be, I would say, the most brutal scene in the movie, in his apartment, where kind of the guy who's responsible for getting him into a lot of the mess that he's in comes to try and be like the good friend, and he just takes a knife. I mean, scissors. He takes scissors to his throat and his eyes, and then just starts bashing his skull against the wall, and you hear it crunching, and I'm like, that's the Joker.
And when they have the body thumped to the ground, and then if you notice the brain and the blood is still slowly seeping down the wall next to him, and he's just breathing like...
People sometimes forget that the Joker is probably one of the most psychologically fucked up characters in comic book history. Like, people sometimes take him off as like comedic relief. He's not, and he's not supposed to be.
No.
Him doing that is the Joker from so many comic runs. I think I've come to the conclusion I loved this movie. It was just so well done. I loved that they had Bruce in it. I loved the parallels between him and Arthur, and They had Alfred in there, and not that I'm saying like I want any like nostalgia, but I think for the sake of putting it in with the overall story arc with him and Thomas Wayne, it was a really cool moment. It was so good.
Yeah, I like how they just kind of sprinkled Bruce in there. And when you saw him, you kind of like already see these aspects of Batman. The first time I watched it, I made a joke when he slid down the pole after he was playing in his playhouse. I was like, Batman! And people like
Adam
erupted around me. They were like, oh my god.
And the one thing I have to mention is probably my other favorite scene, because it was an obvious throwback. It was an obvious, like, thank you, Heath Ledger, when the movie cuts from seeing all the screens of him shooting, what's his name? Murray?
Murray
Yeah.
Shooting
Franklin,
Murray
was
in the eye, to then the police car.
Yes, and he goes,
in a white room. And you see, one of my favorite songs in
That
the
was my
first
favorite
place.
part of the movie. That part where it breaks away and he's in the cop car and the way he's leaning his head, it was definitely a nod to Heath.
That was,
Oh.
yes, that was like complete Goosebumps moment. That was like, thank you, Heath, shot for shot from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. And it just worked for Phoenix as well. Like, it was just such a cool moment, because that's when Gotham starts burning. And he's done this metamorphosis into Joker. Gotham has turned in...
Just want to watch the world burn.
When Gotham is in ashes, then you have my permission to die.
Exactly, because this is the point where Gotham really does fall. And it was just such a great scene.
Like, if you haven't seen it and you were slightly interested in the movie, you should go see it. Like, another thing I did love about the movie is the fact that the movie like never truly explained, was Thomas Wayne his father, or was he actually adopted by his mother, and Thomas Wayne just used his power and influence, to like mess her up, to like do stuff to her. Like, the movie doesn't explain it.
No, it wants you to decide.
I also like that they end it where he's in the psychiatric ward in the end, because you can argue that he was in there the whole time and none of this actually happened. Like, it's so interesting. Different people will take different things out of it. So, like, he mentions being in the hospital in the beginning of the film, but then you never find out why. So then you're like, wait a minute. Did any of this really happen? And was there just a random murder that occurred to the Waynes and he wasn't actually out in the world the whole time? Or did it all actually happen? I like the idea that it did happen.
I think there's two ways to interpret it if you want to do that. You interpret A, this is still in its essence and in its soul a comic book movie. So in which case, yes, this is the Joker's origin story. Or B, this is a really deep cut psychological thriller, and yeah, maybe he was just in Arkham the entire time and none of it ever happened. It's definitely interesting to think about.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different ways you can interpret this movie, and
They
as
do
I
that
said,
on purpose.
that's what a good filmmaker does. They let you, the audience, say, all right, what do you think
Yeah,
about
you
it? Like,
answer your own questions.
yeah,
This is
like
the
I'm not
ending
going to sit
conception.
here and explain it to you.
Let's get to a question that has been asked now by the media a lot before we give our film reel scores, because at first Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix both said this is a one and done. This isn't universe building. This has nothing to do with Robert Pattinson's Batman. But now Todd Phillips is being a little bit more like given different vibes. Like, it could be. Do we think it does, or do we think this is it? Like, this is a movie for Oscar season. No universe building. No nothing.
I think this is probably it for like Joaquin Phoenix being involved, and it could be a standalone film. Like, it easily could. I'm fine with it being a standalone film, but I think that what they did in it was done so well that if they wanted to pick up with the next Batman, whatever, if it's a saga, series, trilogy, whatever, they could easily just build on that, because they already have Gotham as a setting. They could just keep things slightly into the future and use that just brushed aside.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because what we're hearing about the Matt Reeves Batman is that it's going to have a lot of villains, which would also go along with sounds like we just saw Gotham go into full revolt mode.
Yeah, power struggle's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's like, I could believe that a ton of villains could be born out of what just happened at the end of this movie. It doesn't need to be a sequel. It could just be
A continuation.
yeah. Yep.
So yeah, they could easily do it.
I mean, and the movie didn't do this whole like winking and nodding with like, hey, here's Edward Nygma running by in the background. Like, it didn't do that, and I was grateful for that.
And I said I was disappointed and not disappointed at
Yes.
the same time that one of the cops wasn't Jim Gordon.
But they did say one of them had the last name Gordon. It was Gary Gordon, the detective that visited him. Or no.
No, there's
Sorry.
no.
No, not the detective. On the show, Murray was bringing on Gary Gordon. So they did do a Gordon name drop, but you don't know if he's actually related or not.
I was a
Interesting.
little more surprised that like one of the cops wasn't Bullock, who is like an older cop who's been in Gotham for a while.
And notoriously corrupt.
Yeah, notoriously corrupt. Well, I mean, like corrupt, but not like it's. Bullock's always a complicated.
In the Dark
character.
Knight trilogy, he's corrupt. In Gotham, he's an anti-hero.
I go with the animated Bullock, sir.
Animated over everything.
Animated Bullock
That's
is
where
also
the lore
good.
is.
Yeah.
Ooh, they did use the animated show's font for some of the signs. The Murray Show font is the animated series font.
Is it?
That's
Yeah,
really interesting.
I noticed that this time around. Last time I was trying to take things in a little more.
We'll have to see it
Also, like,
again.
there's so many like Robert De Niro nods, and also what's that show he was in? The one where the guy actually takes the talk show host hostage.
Oh,
It's like the
with Tom
comedian or
Cruise.
Yeah.
I forget what it was
I
called.
love that movie.
That's an
But
old-
that's
an
what
movie.
that whole scene's like a reference to. But instead of taking him hostage, he's just like, bang! What kind of clown carries a gun, man?
Let's get into our film reel scores. Brittany, we'll start with you from 0 to 5.
I think I might actually give it a 5. Like, I was pretty satisfied with it. There's some small dialogue choices I would change, just because
Yeah.
people take things in a weird way sometimes. But overall, like, I literally had no expectations going into this. Didn't even know about the controversy until we mentioned it. Didn't really have much of an interest. I saw some trailers and talked about it with some of my film students when I was a teacher. But, like, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was solid. Felt like I was reading a graphic novel.
Yeah. I mean, I'll also give it a 5. It was. I mean, like Brittany, I didn't know what my expectations were walking into it. The movie delivered. I mean, it was a satisfying watch. I'm looking forward to owning it when it comes out, and you know, it'll be a valued part of my collection.
I am going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah.
I knew it. I called it.
I thought about 4.5. But
Yeah.
4.5 out of 5. I don't think it was perfect, but I think that it was. I mean, listen, it's right there, up there. It's a classic. It's gonna get all the Oscar buzz, and it deserves it. So 4.5 out of 5, easy. Just a great film. Go see Joker. Don't bring your kids,
Yeah.
please.
Mommy, what did you just do to that man?
Well, he eviscerated him.
That was paint, baby. That was a paintbrush.
That's what happens when you bash someone's head into the wall.
That's going to do it for our show. We will be back next week. We are going to do Halloween a little early. We are planning on going to Terror Behind the Walls at Eastern State Penitentiary. Maybe we're going to do a top 10 horror movie countdown. Maybe. We got some things planned. That'll be next week's show for episode 34. This has been episode 33. Have a good night.